He is a guest at an opulent, almost grotesque banquet. In the center of a long, polished table rests a colossal platter, overflowing with a mountain of meats and glistening cherries. Guests, dressed in what appears to be their finest attire, begin to carve into the feast. Knives and forks work with practiced ease, separating flesh from bone. The camera pans out to give us a full view of the dining hall. It's a scene of pure decadence, a room dripping with wealth, crowned by a massive crystal chandelier. A host of servers moves silently in the background, their only purpose to pour wine and cater to every whim. The feast is not for the faint of heart. The table is a carnivore's dream, or perhaps a nightmare, littered with the bloody skeletons of consumed animals. The guests are fully engrossed in their meals. We see a woman in a vibrant green dress, delicately savoring her portion. An older man with a flowing white beard gnaws on an animal's foot, his eyes closed in concentration. A woman in a stark military uniform eats with a cold, detached precision. The camera lingers on the various dishes, a grotesque yet mesmerizing display of cooked and raw meats. The woman in green is seen again, daintily wiping her mouth after a bite, while the man with the beard continues his primitive meal. The table is a landscape of scorched carcasses and elaborate meat arrangements. A woman in a black dress eats with an air of melancholy, a stark contrast to a heavy-set man nearby who consumes his food with pure, unadulterated gusto. More and more platters are brought to the table, an endless supply for an insatiable hunger. Suddenly, the world shatters. The magnificent crystal chandelier begins to sway violently. A low rumble escalates into a deafening roar as the very floor beneath them gives way. In the midst of the chaos, one man in a sharp suit remains eerily calm. He walks over to a wall intercom, presses a button, and speaks a single, chilling phrase, "Next floor." The words are followed by the horrifying sound of people and furniture tumbling downwards into the abyss. The chandelier swings like a pendulum in the ruined room. The man in the suit stands for a moment, a silent observer of the destruction he seemingly commanded. The surviving guests are in a state of shock, trying to flee, while the loyal servers attempt to help those who have fallen. The scene settles into a new, grim reality. Everything, from the once gleaming silverware to the half-eaten meals, is now coated in a thick layer of dust and debris. The feast is not over. It simply continues under new, wretched conditions. A woman, her face and clothes caked in gray dust, continues to eat. The food itself is covered in grit, a disgusting parody of the lavish meal it once was. One man tries to eat, but another person repeatedly strikes him with a feather duster, a bizarre act of cleaning or punishment. Another man forces a dusty piece of food into his mouth, his jaw working mechanically. The narrative then shifts. We are in a different space, a dimly lit chamber that feels older, deeper. A bald man in a formal black tuxedo stands as the new master of ceremonies. The atmosphere is somber, accompanied by the mournful sound of a string quartet. Two young men stand like statues, holding platters laden with the same kind of food, animals, meats, fruits. The bald man takes a knife and fork and begins to meticulously carve the roasts and small birds, arranging them on a platter. We see a woman in a dark gray dress use tongs to select a piece of meat. The camera reveals another long table, surrounded by people eating in the dim light, tearing at animal entrails. The ceiling above them is dark, heavy and oppressive. Down at the table, the guests continue their relentless eating. The bald man, the architect of this new level, looks on. Then he utters the same command. Next floor. A new phase of the descent begins. A group of men in white uniforms rush down a staircase. They carry platters of food, wooden clubs, and bright, harsh lights, led by a man in black. They arrive in another room, where another group of people is already seated at a long table. Without ceremony, the newcomers smash a wooden chair, an act of random, pointless destruction. The bald man appears again, and again he gives the command. Next floor. The procession continues its downward journey, a frantic, torchlit descent into ever deeper levels of this strange prison. They arrive in yet another room. Here, the guests are the same ones from the original banquet. They sit at the long table, eating, their bodies and clothes covered in an even thicker layer of dust. The passage of time and the repeated descents have taken their toll. The woman in the dark gray dress is now eating with tears streaming down her dust-streaked face. Her consumption is no longer about hunger or pleasure. It is an act of pure despair. The bald man, the impassive conductor of this symphony of suffering, simply watches them. And then it comes. A sudden, violent explosion rips through the chamber. The cycle is broken. The ritual of eating is replaced by the primal instinct to survive. The guests, who have been passively descending from one level of hell to the next, are finally spurred into action. They flee from the wreckage, a desperate scramble for an escape that may not exist.